HyperLynx DRC VX.2.6 release brings support for rigid flex designs from Expedition, as well as Wirebond support. In this example, I have a rigid flex board with 3 rigid boards and 2 flexible regions. In the project data, you can see each individual region has its own unique stackup and also contains the individual layers that represent those regions. For instance, the flexible region will have the cover layer and the flex core material, whereas the rigid regions will have a different material, the FR4 material. You can also view the master stackup of the entire plan, as well as view and plan each individual stackup. To view a particular stackup or an individual one, you'll just highlight that stackup in the project data area and then click the stackup button again. Similarly, to control the visibility and the colors, which is what you'll use for each individual rule when you're highlighting violations, you can actually view the layers of the region with the pull-down menu, as well as select an individual region. Because each region has its own individual stackup and individual plane layers and nets, in this case, we have 4-layer boards on the rigid main board, but then the flexible regions may only have 1 or 2 layers routed from the main board to the next board. So depending on your board database and stackup, you have the ability to control which layers you're turning on and off here. The rigid flex support has also come directly from Expedition. So here we're looking at the same database in Expedition, and here you can see the 3D view of the database, where we actually can visualize with Expedition how our board will look in the real physical world with the flexible bends, and have the ability to manipulate that as well and do all our board database creation with Expedition layout. But for HyperLynx DRC, the rigid flex support is also available in streaming mode. So if you're using HyperLynx DRC inside of the Expedition flow and you're not using an individual standalone board, you can actually turn on the client there and activate streaming and then run all of your checks inside the Expedition environment as well. Now we're going to switch gears and talk about Wirebond support. Also available in HyperLynx DRC in the VX.2.6 release is Wirebond support. So similarly, we've opened an Expedition database with Wirebonds, and it's also available in streaming mode. So we're starting the client and Expedition analysis control. And here in the 2D environment of Expedition, you can see the Wirebonds on the package chips available on the board. There's 4 or 5 examples on this design database, and if we look at the 3D view, you can see physically how the Wirebonds would be created in real life and fabricated. And you can see the board cavities where these chips lie, and they're different tiers, maybe different heights depending on your board. This particular board has 4 different examples of packages and Wirebonds. And the beauty of this is that because the Wirebonds are supported and created in the Expedition layout environment, we have the ability to run automated rule checks on them with HyperLynx DRC. So here in streaming mode, you'll see that since HyperLynx DRC doesn't have a 3D view, you're going to see a 2D representation. But similarly to the flexible rigid regions, you'll see individual board regions that are automatically loaded in. You can see the individual board cavities for each chip. Same as the other flexible rigid technology, you'll have individual stackups for each cavity, the ability to turn on and off the layer control for each of these cavities, and any rule that you'll run in HyperLynx DRC out of the box, so that's custom rule, will actually now take into account these Wirebonds. So if you have any impedance checks or any other checks, they'll all be run and available in HyperLynx DRC VX.2.6.